Now we proceed on to our next presentation. Our next speaker is Professor Kuniya Nasukawa from Tohoku Gakuin University. Professor Nasukawa will be telling us about the inherent vowel feature, the case of Fijian. Professor Nasukawa, please.
Okay, I'm Kuniya Nasukawa from Sendai. And first of all, I'd like to thank to the organizers for their helpful and kind invitation. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here and to give my own recent work. And today, I'd like to talk about the inherent vowel feature in the Fijian language. In my talk, in order to exhibit some aspects of spoken languages, I try to identify which phonological prime, which linguistically smallest unit, is the inherent feature serving as a base for constructing phonological structure in Fijian. In order to achieve this, this talk investigates what kind of vowel epenthesis is observed when Fijian creates a novel long word by borrowing from English. Now, let us take a look at languages in general. All natural languages are bound by rules or constraints relating to phonotactics and phonological structure. When languages borrow words from other languages, various rules or constraints apply in order to ensure that borrowed material complies with the structural requirements of the borrowing language. Among these rules or constraints, one of the most frequently discussed concerns vowel epenthesis, a process typically observed in strict consonant vowel CBCV languages, which results in a ban on word final consonants and on consonant clusters. Although epenthetic vowels differ in number and type from one language to another, the default quality is sensitive to the following three statements. Epenthetic vowels are maximally unmarked. That means most frequently used, or underspecified, not determined in quality, or phonetically shortest and non-peripheral, that means central in a given vowel space. And two, epenthetic vowels are copied vowels of source words in a donor language, and vowels which are affected by the quality of adjacent consonants. The present study investigates what kind of vowel epenthesis is observed when Fijian creates a novel long word by borrowing from English. The patterns examined are all based on data we collected from 4 informants of Fijian native speakers in Fiji during August this year. In the following part, it will be claimed that the E, the sound E, is the unmarked epenthetic vowel in Fijian, and I will offer phonological arguments rather than phonetic arguments for why this vowel behaves as it does. Its behavior is attributed to the status of the minimal linguistic unit called a dip in Fijian. The presence of dip, as opposed to other minimal units, is an inherent characteristic of the language, and as such serves as the base for building phonological structure in Fijian. The phonetic manifestation of a so or dip is the high front vowel. That means E. E is quite a closed vowel in the front part of our vocal tract. And this tells us why E is the second most frequent epenthetic vowel in Fijian. The sound E contains the dip feature in its internal structure. And typologically speaking, the same inherent role is played in the minimal units rump in Japanese and mas in English. And the inherent feature rump phonetically manifests itself as U in Japanese, while inherent mas, the feature, is realized as sound. Shua, we call it shua, sound, central vowel in English. These two vowels function as a default. Okay, these two vowels function as default epenthetic vowels in loan words in the respective languages. Identifying the inherent vowel feature in a language helps us analyze the vocalic phonological effects in that language. The structure of this paper is as follows. In section 2, I will discuss vowel typology and explains why E-U-R are regarded as basic vowels cross-linguistically. In section 3, I will argue that the vowels E-U-R are also found as typical epenthetic vowels in loanword adaptation. And in section 4, that's the place where I discuss the relations between the epenthetic vowels and the phonological features. Then in section 5, I will investigate the nature of the inherent vowel in Fijian and also identify the feature that can be regarded as the foundation of the segment internal structure. Now, vowel typology. Let's look at vowel typology in natural spoken languages. The vowels E, U, R are extremely common cross-linguistically, appearing in almost all known languages. In languages with very small vowel systems, as seen in this this slide, they are invariably the only vowels. Although the vowel systems in one vary slightly in terms of phonetic quality, the vowels themselves are regarded as being phonetically the same. Phonetic variation with this kind is to be expected because a segment is a token of an abstract phonological category, and languages differ in the way they choose to phonetically interpret these categories. The same applies to 5 vowel systems such as Spanish and Zulu in this slide, and to other vowel systems such as Chubash and French, as in this slide. And in all cases, you can see that E, U, R play the pivotal role in a given vowel system. From a different angle, we may say that they are the corner vowels in a given vowel space in all languages. There are a number of phonetic explanations for why languages favor E, U, R over other vowel sounds. Let me outline 2 of these, quantal theory and dispersion theory. The first, according to quantal theory, the vowels E, U, R occupy areas of the vowel space that have the clearest and most stable phonetic qualities. This makes it possible for language users to tolerate a certain amount of phonetic variation and signal distortion when they hear or produce these vowels without the risk of being misunderstood. But in the case of other vowels, the same is not true. In order for the mid-vowels, e, o, to be transmitted successfully, speakers and hearers both need to show a higher degree of accuracy. For example, if e, the mid-vowel, is not pronounced accurately enough, it can be confused with acoustically similar vowels such as I or E, which contrasts with E in some languages. By contrast, I, U are rarely involved in errors of this kind. Then, according to dispersion theory, languages prefer I, U, A because these vowels are maximally dispersed. They occupy the most extreme points in the acoustic vowel space by virtue of having maximally distinct acoustic properties. And given that the purpose of a speech is to communicate linguistic information, it's reasonable to expect languages to have evolved in a way that makes the communication process as efficient as possible. Clearly, one way of doing this is to favor sounds that are easily perceived, such as I, U, A. Another explanation for why languages favor I, U, A over other vowel sounds is found in the acquisitional path of sound systems. It has often been claimed that during the acquisition of the vowel system, I, U, A appear to show a primary status in terms of production and also perception. Okay, now long word phonology. The observation that languages favor three vowels over other vowel sounds is also found when languages borrow words from other languages. In particular, the weaker versions of the vowels I, U, A are commonly employed in vowel epenthesis, typically in strict consonant-vowel, CVCV languages, which results in a ban on consonant clusters and on word-of-honor consonants. And let's take a look at some examples in 5. Although the nature of the epenthetic vowel differs from one language to another, I, U, A are frequently used cross-linguistically. In Japanese, for example, except after T and D, U is employed in vowel epenthesis. As found in the slide, and the strike is pronounced as storaiku in Japanese style. Then English differs from the languages in 5 by using quite a central, mid-central vowel as its epenthetic vowel, which is inserted before word initial NC sequences, I mean nasal and consonant sequences, when they appear word initially in the source language. Those words are from African languages. And Lee, 2008, presents the data in 7. Here we can find not only the vowels I, U, A, but also other vowel types as well. And yeah, as I mentioned, there are many different kinds of vowels we can find in many languages as epenthetic vowels, but limiting my arguments to one, which is one of three statements that characterize the quality of an epenthetic vowel, assumes that the sound chosen by languages as the epenthetic vowel is most commonly, the one of the central vowels, I, U, those are quite weak and weaker versions of I, U, A. And interestingly, these are the vowels that some scholars have identified as the weak forms of I, U, A. Then now I'd like to consider the relationship between epenthetic vowels and phonologically minimal units. I assume it's no accident that I, U, central vowels preferred as epenthetic vowels, and at the same time that I, U, A have a pivotal role in cross-linguistic vowel systems. To fully understand the relationship between these two observations, we need to employ a triangular model of phonological features, phonological primes, such as the one used in segmental theories, such as element theory. Element theory employs three vowel elements, features, mass, dip, and rump, of which ability to bring about distinctness in meaning is expressed by its presence and absence in mental representations, and they are independently interpretable and pronounceable, and function as the building blocks of sound internal structure. There are 6 elements in this theory, and among the 6 elements in this slide, elements which are relevant to the present discussion of these 3, dip, rump, mass, these 3. And each name is attributed to the acoustic patterns given in slide 32, and here you can see mass of the energy is found in the acoustic pattern in A. Dip and rump are also identified in B and C, respectively. These elements may combine as found in slide 33. Elements mass and dip may combine. Then the whole expression is phonetically interpreted as the sound E, mid-vowel, of which acoustic pattern apparently contains both of the mass and dip patterns. The same combinatorial pattern is found in the sound O as well. This talk accounts for this parametric choice of I, U, A as an epenthetic vowel in a particular language by proposing that one of the 3 vowel elements, mass, dip, or rump, is selected. Then I shall claim that for a given language, one of these vowel elements determines the quality of the epenthetic vowel. In its acoustically weak form, the mass feature, which is represented by the capital A, is phonetically realized as a central vowel schwa, in English. The feature dip, which is represented by the capital E as I in Chilengu, and the rump feature represented by the capital U as U in Japanese. Accordingly, I claim that mass, dip, and rump can each function as the inherent feature of a language's vowel system. And this helps to explain why in a language with a single central vowel, this vowel is always chosen from the universal set of weak vowels I, U, E. Then let us now consider what kind of vowel epenthesis we get in Fijian loanwords that have been adapted from English. A table on this slide shows the consonant inventory of Fijian. There is an existing body of literature which describes the patterns and the kinds of epenthetic vowels in Fijian. See, for example, Sheets, Kenswich, Kumagai, and other people, scholars, where the data concerned is based on established loanwords that are listed in dictionaries. What is not clear from this data, however, is whether a word has been nativized in Fijian, and if so, when, or whether a word has been borrowed directly from English or indirectly via other languages such as French. Then the present study investigates what kind of vowel epenthesis is observed when Fijian creates a novel loanword by borrowing from English. The patterns examined are all based on data we collected from, as I said, 4 native Fijian informants in Fiji during August this year. The 4 informants were given approximately 400 English words and asked to respond by reproducing these words in a nativized form. For example, we showed them a word such as approve, transcribed according to English spelling, and also demonstrated the typical English pronunciation, approve, right? Then the informants pronounced the same word in Fijian style. In the case of approve, they typically pronounce this word as approve. As this example shows, the Fijian pronunciation includes several alternations and vowel insertions. And some examples are given here. For example, display was pronounced as discipile, right? So they inserted e's between consonants. And this one, butler, was pronounced as batala. Okay, a lot of examples are given here. Right. And in this project, we are focusing in particular on epenthetic vowels. So we therefore checked what kinds of vowels were inserted between consonants and after word final consonants. The results obtained from the 4 informants shown in this slide 44 note that the data does not include any vowels which were copied from source words in the donor language, English. Interestingly, among the 5 vowels, the vowels a or u are the ones that appear to have been influenced by the quality of adjacent consonants. For instance, in the earlier example, approve, the informants gave the nativized pronunciation, approve, where they assumed the first u comes as a result of being influenced by the place feature of the preceding consonant, p. This sound is pronounced by using lips, both lips, and the u is articulated with lip postulution as well. Here, however, let us limit the discussion to epenthetic vowels that are more or less context-free, like those in just given in slide 41 and 42. The data from all 4 informants show a strong preference for E and E as epenthetic vowels in Fijian. This may be partially explained by number 1 of 3 statements that characterize the quality of an epenthetic vowel on the preceding slide, on the previous slide, slide 25, and which states that context-free epenthetic vowels are maximally unmarked, unspecified or phonetically shortest and central in the vowel space. And in particular, it accounts for the greater frequency of the vowel E. On the other hand, it doesn't explain why the vowel E is also relatively frequent. In order to discuss the behavior of the sound E, perhaps we need to look for phonological explanation rather than one based on phonetics. A possible analysis may be provided by referring to distinctive feature theory, a different theory of phonological features from element theory. In this theory, the feature minus back, which is a kind of instruction that the front part of a tongue must be used, that minus back feature may be involved in the vowel insertion process. However, this kind of explanation is not found in any of the statements just given in the previous slide. And also, if minus back is involved in the process, we would need to find the reason why one particular feature is employed cross-linguistically in this way. In the context of element theory, however, it's possible to say that the behavior of E, the mid-vowel, relates to the status of the feature dip in Fijian. The dip dip element, as opposed to mass element and the rump element, is the inherent feature in this language. That is, it serves as the base for building phonological structure in Fijian. The phonetic manifestation of the sole dip element is the high front vowel, E. Closed front vowel, E. From this, we derive an explanation for why the vowel E is the second most frequent epenthetic vowel in Fijian. That is, the vowel E also contains dip element in its internal structure, as explained in slide 33. And typologically speaking, the semi-inherent role is played by rump elements in Japanese and mass element in English. The inherent element, the rump element, phonetically manifests itself as U in Japanese, while inherent mass element is realized as schwa in English, central vowel. These two vowels function as default epenthetic vowels in loan words in the respective languages. And identifying the inherent vowel feature in a language helps us analyze the vocalic phonological effects that are observed in that language. And conclusion, in this talk, I've justified E and E are the vowels which Fijian speakers use as context-free epenthetic vowels. Crucially, those vowels contain the element dip in the internal structure. This element is regarded as the inherent vocalic feature in Fijian, which plays a pivotal role in terms of vocalic phenomena in the language in question. Okay. That's it. Thank you.